The opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Howdy ho, everybody. Come to your cordless from glamorous Minneapolis. It's Monday night, July 6, 2026. I am Jim Peters, and welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. This is episode number 366, if you're keeping score at home. And so, if you saw the description for a show tonight, it says big announcement. And so I might as well start talking about the count for the episodes. Get this out of the way right now. So, as of this week now, we're only going to be doing 2 shows a week, Mondays and Thursdays. We're going to have guests on the Thursday show, usually 2. On the Monday show, it's just going to be the Jimcast, just this. Now, what's happened here is that the people who are attempting to monetize my show have convinced me, and I know they're right, even though for various reasons, I don't want to do this, but I'm doing it. They only want me to do 1 show a week. They think it's easier to monetize a weekly podcast than a daily podcast, and I know logically that's true. I know that. I've added the Monday because I can't go a whole week without talking to you folks. There's too much to talk about. And I gotta admit, I've always been kind of a worker bee, and there's a part of me that kind of doesn't want to do this. I would prefer to do for the last 3 years now, we're coming up on our 3-year anniversary at the end of this month. The last 3 years, we've been attempting, the shows, we've advertised that we're doing 4 shows a week, Monday through Thursday. Now, in reality, we've only averaged about 3 because I promised my wife, it's really true, that until there was any real money in this, I would take time off for family events, and I've done that. And so now I'm going to be able to continue to do it because we're basically doing 1.5 shows a week. And I don't know on the Monday, this is the Jimcast. We don't have a guest tonight. And that'll be the normal thing for Monday. I don't even know if I should count it as a show. I don't. But there's just too much going on in the world, and I just got too much I got to say. And I don't post on social media. This is the way I post, especially the shorts we do from our shows. We post them all over the place. I want to thank you folks. They get very, very good viewership, and man, the comments, I don't know what it is, but on Rumble and YouTube, people don't care to comment, but the comments on YouTube, no, excuse me, on TikTok, we get a lot of TikToks and a lot of comments on TikTok, and yeah, a lot of them are negative. Yeah, and so yeah, I'm crazy. But I like it. I do. You're talking to me, and I appreciate it. And I think maybe at some point I'm gonna have to spend 1 time a week reading some of the comments too, but not today. So anyway, that's what we got going on here. So now on Thursday, our 2 guests are going to be Paul Blake Smith. He's a UFO researcher and author. He's been on the show before. He has a brand new book out. It will be out on Wednesday, the day before. It's called The UFO Bombshell Before Roswell, and it's about the alleged crash of a UFO in Cape Girardeau, Missouri in 1941. Now, the irony here is that, and I asked about Paul when he was on the show the last time, talking about one of his previous books. He's actually from Cape Girardeau, but he said growing up, he didn't know anything about this. He didn't. And so it's kind of interesting. The interesting thing, I've been reading his book. So, but because of that, and his family's been in Cape Girardeau for generations, apparently, he knows, if not the people directly, the families involved, most of the people who were involved in this. So, and it's hard to read this book and come to any conclusion other than the fact this happened. Too many people have said too many things, and they all corroborate with each other. They all basically match. It's like I mean, yeah. They found 3 dead aliens. Actually, one of them died uh, after they took it out of the spacecraft. The two of them were already dead, apparently, and we'll talk about that with him on Thursday. And also on Thursday, our second guest is our old friend Think, who's calling in. He wants to talk about quantum computing and AI, and he's really good at that stuff. So we're going to talk about that because that's very important. I I'm starting to come to the conclusion, and I'm happy to tell you this, that as far as the AI thing is concerned, I might have been wrong. I've said for many years that I thought that AI was going to cause massive unemployment for several years, and it looks like I might be incorrect. It's going to cause unemployment, but it's going to be such a small dip, and it's going to be so quick. It might have already happened. I mean, there's after firing a bunch of people, a lot of corporations have fired people because of AI because they're taking advantage of it, and now they're hiring them back because it turns out that, well, AI is wrong a lot of the time. So now they need people to sort through that. And but anyway, I'm really glad. I am glad that I'm wrong about that. If I am, we'll see. I mean, the jury's still out, but that's starting to look like I'm incorrect. And so we'll think about that too. And we also will have some UFO news because Paul is going to be on. I'm saving some stuff for Thursday because it doesn't change much. What can I tell you? You know, it's not like the market or anything like that. It's like, but and we have some for tonight too. I hope you had a good 4th of July weekend. I have to tell you, I saw the um, fireworks display on Washington, D.C. On Saturday night, and that was actually pretty damn cool. It's like that. Yeah, that was a lot. I think the technical term is a shitload of fireworks. That was actually pretty neat, you know. So and you know, we've talked about this before too. A whole bunch of people have come over here for the World Cup to the United States, also Canada and Mexico, but mostly the U.S. And they are absolutely raving about everything. And the Germans have been knocked out now in the round of 32, and they had to go back home. And a lot of them they literally didn't want to. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this has been I mean, this is one of the reasons I've been doing this show for 6 years, and that is I expect politicians to lie. I expect people to lie in their own self-interest. I don't. I don't expect the press to lie because it's really not, at least not directly, it's not in the press's own self-interest to lie. It just isn't. And yet, most of the people who've come over here from Europe and other countries have said they had from their own media at home a completely different idea of what the United States was about. And they said it was completely different. They came over here and basically they were shocked at how different it was from what they were expecting. And that's because I'm going to be perfectly blunt. Their media is lying to them, and our media generally lies to us. And I think the reason is because people have been educated in college, not only here in the United States, but across the Western world. And they're basically getting a diluted idea of what the world really, how the world really works. I think that's the reason. And so then they get jobs and they go to their, let media outlets and they get employment and they bring those ideas with them and that they look through the world through that lens. And that lens is just bluntly, it's wrong. That's all there is to it. And all these people came over here from Europe who've never been here before, and they're shocked at how different it was than what they were expecting, than what their media had set them up to expect. So, and this is one of the reasons I do this. We have such the mainstream media, the legacy media in the United States is presenting such a diluted idea of what America at large is about. And granted, okay, there's 340 million people here in the United States. It's a big country, and it's physically a big country too. And that's a lot of the Europeans have talked about that, about the fact they're traveling around to different venues across the United States and how different the United States is a very varied country. I mean, there's a lot going on here. But you There, geez, I lost my train of thought. It's terrible. And we don't we do this live on tape. I'm not starting over. the the the, there's such a big difference in the United States is such a varied country that you can't in one article or even like one publication kind of sum it up, in general. But the fact is, we have a lot of people who are giving us an idea of what the country's like that isn't true. And you're saying, "Well, Jim, how do you know? How do you know?" And well, I don't. That's the thing. It's like the whole thing, quote unquote, my truth. Which I think is kind of silly. But the fact is, I'm not young anymore, and I've been around the block a few times, done a lot of different things, and I've been blessed in that sense. I've been blessed. The variety of my life has blessed me to allow me to do this particular function, which is trying to tell you exactly what's going on in the best, most concise way I can. So, and I had to comment on that. I'm sorry. Batya Sargon wrote a column in Substack. God damn, I can't talk. Jesus. And I used to do announcing. It's like it's great. I don't know. I don't know what the hell. I have my theory is that I have way more stuff in my brain now than I did 30 years ago. And because of that, it's like sort of I don't know, whatever. Anyway, she's talking about the fact that the Democrats now are there. Everyone, I don't have to tell you this, the Democratic Party is fronting a whole bunch of socialists and communists, and yeah, none of them will say they're communists, but it's obvious by what they're spouting that they're actually communists for election here in 2028 for the midterms. And she's pointed out, and it's very true, that they are trying to present these people as working class, as advocates for the working class, and nothing could be further from the truth. Not to mention the fact that real working class people can smell these people as phonies a mile away. I mean, this is not going to work. I have been saying for the last 6 months that I think I predicated it with the fact that assuming gas prices are under $3.50 or $4 a gallon in October, assuming that happens, that the Republicans are going to keep the majority in both houses of Congress. I think that's going to happen, and I don't think I think this kind of I think what she's saying here is absolutely spot on. This is uh, going to be the working class America can smell these people as phonies. They can, and they're just and the left seems to have convinced themselves that this is a way to win, that they can get the working class people to, because socialism and communism was based on working class, on a working class audience, and it just isn't. I mean, it's like does nothing for working class people at all, and especially the fact that these particular people that they're in by and large that they're advocating and they're pushing forward are they're just phonies. I think Graham Plattner in Maine is going to get buried by Susan Collins. I don't right now. The polling's really close. The last poll I think she was up by 2 points, but I think come election day, he's going to get slaughtered. That's what I think, because I don't think the working class people of Maine are going to buy that for not for anything. And speaking of working class people in this country, the Buffalo Bills are building a new stadium. Good for them. That's fine. But here's the problem with that. For the Buffalo Bills games, for the new stadium, because it's a new stadium, they have to pay for it. The average ticket price, this isn't, excuse me, the highest ticket price in the stadium. It's the average ticket price for a seat in that stadium for Buffalo Bills games is going to be $700. And Buffalo is pretty much a working class town, and the fervent fans of the Bills are mostly working class people. And what the hell? How the hell? Now I did actually did some looking into this. Right now, The cheapest single ticket in the entire NFL, across all 32 teams, 32 stadiums, the cheapest ticket is $150. Well, excuse me, that's not that cheap, especially when you can still go to a Major League Baseball game in certain parts of cities in the United States for $10. You're going to sit in the nosebleeds in the right field, but you can. You can still do that or about that, maybe $10, $12. And so here, $700 to see the Bills play. That is not. That's not. That's not going to fly. But I guess they got to. And I understand there's a lot of people in the country with a lot of money. There's another thing I've been saying for several years too. Everyone always says the middle class is disappearing, and it is. But the assumption is that the middle class is getting poorer. No, half the middle class is getting richer. It's splitting right down the middle. There's a whole bunch of people in the United States that have figured out the game on how to make money, a whole bunch, and that's why we are awash in cash in the United States. I don't know, maybe you're not, but that doesn't change the fact that there people are swimming all over in it. And so even considering that though, I mean, it's like, I don't know, is somebody going to pay, even if you have $5 million in the bank, are you going to pay $700 to see the Bills? Especially when you can sit home and watch it on TV and a giant flat screen television that costs you $400. Because it's for you youngins out there. I mean, I remember when this is still true. When we had cathode ray televisions, they were rel- relatively speaking enormously expensive. I remember I bought a giant one because I remember I had to haul it up to my third floor apartment here in Northeast Minneapolis, uh, where we didn't have an elevator, and it was 50 stairs to the top floor to my floor, and I had to hold this giant box. And it was heavy, but that wasn't the problem. The problem was I could barely get my hands around it. I had to, and then I got upstairs and we set it up, and it didn't work. I had to go back and get another one. I still I still remember this. But these televisions were absolutely unwieldy, or if you by extension, computer monitors too. They were ridiculous. They were huge, giant cubes. The picture was bad. That it's and then all of a sudden around 2006 this like changed overnight, and now you can get a pretty decent 55-inch television for like $240, and it's way better. It's not even comparison. It's way better than the previous technology. It is. So you can sit home and you can, for $700 you can buy an 80-inch TV. It's about the size of your freaking wall. So you're gonna go to, I don't know. I don't know who's going to the game. Excuse me. It's like, but whatever. The Chinese have beat us now, the United States, in supercomputing technology. They now have a computer it's called Line Shine, and it was built by the Shenzhen Cloud Computing Company in China. And amazingly, it runs off standard CPU chips rather than the NVIDIA GPU chips. But it just has, once again, I'm going to use that technical term, a shitload of them. And has now outpaced the fastest computer we have in the United States. Now, we're going to get into this on Thursday, talking to Think, and I got a couple things coming up here too. But quantum computing is coming. Now, it's actually already here, but right now it's at the phase that regular digital computing was in the 1940s, where you needed an entire room of vacuum cubes just to solve like a basic math problem. But everything's relative. That's where quantum computing is, relatively speaking. But still, a regular quantum computer is still eons faster than any of these supercomputers we currently have. It's not even close. I was told, okay, so there's some quantum computer somewhere, and I know Google's actually, believe it or not, they're actually one of the leading exponents of this technology. But they solved their quantum computer solved a math problem in 5 minutes that was estimated it would have taken a regular digital computer trillions of years to solve. Solved it in 5 minutes. And I know there's a whole bunch of mathematical problems that forever have never been solved, and now is being solved by quantum computers. And the other thing is, and this is a really amazing thing for you. This is where it benefits for you, and that is medical technology and cures and treatments for diseases is going to absolutely explode in the next 10, 15 years because of quantum computing, just because it can run so many different scenarios so much faster than even a regular computer can. So anyway, that's the thing. So these computers are going to be basically obsolete in 5 to 7 years. I mean, they're saying that I saw one CEO somewhere on some business channel was saying that by 2032, and this is my guess too, about 2032, this will be relatively commercialized technology. Now, the problem is it's still, we still can't, we have to run these computers because of shielding at absolute zero, which is just absurd. I saw a thing on Bloomberg TV just this weekend, and I didn't realize this. I've seen quantum computers before. They're giant, giant cases. They look like they got tendrils hanging out of them. It's ridiculous. But the actual quantum CPU isn't any bigger than a CPU chip for your desktop computer. It's about 2 inches square. No big deal. All that other stuff is set up primarily to cool it and filter it and shield it from outside influence, because you can't have any heat. You can't have, it's like, it's really terrible. And I don't know, what will crack this open is when they can figure out how to do this at room temperature. At that point, you will have one of these things on your desk. I don't know if I'm going to live to see it. Maybe 20 years from now, you'll have a desktop quantum computer, and it's like you'll be able to, at that point, you're going to create a universe. It's like, and then that's the same people who are wondering, do we live in a simulation? Well, simulation will probably be driven by a quantum computer. So the CEO of Qualcomm, Cristiano Aman, he says that in the next year, Americans are going to end up basically being, we're all going to be turned into walking cameras, because the smart glasses are going to be coming. They're already coming. They're already here. But the Meta has a version that the glasses themselves are unbelievably ugly. I don't think that's going to fly. They keep trying and failing at this so far. But yeah, and Aman also says it's partly because of 6G technology, the sixth generation of Wi-Fi. And I don't know about you, but my Wi-Fi's now okay. We have literally here in our studio, because we broadcast on the internet. We have super super fast fiber optic internet, and so it's like this is probably not this type of stuff you have in your home. So we got a pretty fast connection here. But I even regular Wi-Fi is exactly slow. I mean, you're on YouTube and TikTok watching videos all the time. God, you couldn't do that 20 years ago at all. I mean, I don't want to. I'm not bragging about this, but I was one of the involved in one of the original technologies of broadcasting video on the internet, and and this is 1990s. It was pretty shitty. It was like old broadcast TV, or you had a window on the screen that was about 2 by 3 inches, and it was jerky, and it was bad. It looked like crap. It did. And so here we are 30 years later, and yeah, where I'm streaming this to you, and you can watch this on your television even, and we're doing it 1080p. So I've been talking a lot about these scientists that have gone missing in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I need to once again set this up about the fact that if you ask some of the publications like the Daily Mail or whatever, they will tell you there's like 14 scientists have mysteriously gone missing or are dead. Well, no, not they're not 14. First of all, and I've said that I need to point this out right away. There's one person on this list who doesn't belong on the list at all. So that's 13. Okay. Now the real problem is the 6 people that went missing specifically in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The rest of it might be chance and might not. That's the thing. But these 6 people went missing. They live in the same location. They work for Los Alamos. They all work for Los Alamos National Laboratories, and they went missing in basically the same fashion. And that's really, really creepy. It is. Now, what it turns out right now is that Anthony Chavez, who's one of these 6 people, it turns out he was working on teleportation technology. Now, technically he retired from Los Alamos in 2017, but apparently that was only a technicality. He was still working with people there, and they're working on teleportation, and that is sending matter from one location to the other. And once again, getting back to the quantum computer thing, you think we have a theme here? Yeah, we do. Uh, this is based on the quantum theory of what's called superposition, which basically allows you to allows matter to exist in 2 places at once. And if we're going to build the transporter from Star Trek, this is how it's going to work. And this is what he's working. Now, I'll tell you, I did not research this. I know this just from my own background reading, that this has already been accomplished. They have already managed to transport matter from one position, one point to the next. But it's only now they've only done it with a few atoms. So now whether they can do a person, there's also the question, I mean, we're going to have to start addressing this. If there's a soul and that's a tangible thing, if you send a living person through this thing, does the soul go with it? Who knows? And those are questions for 300 years from now. But the fact of the matter is they are working on this. And Chavez turned out to be, he was technically retired, but it turned out he's 70 years old. He was working on this. And like all the other people, he went missing out of his home in Albuquerque, and he didn't take his new car, his keys, or his wallet. He just walked out and left. And that's pretty much the other 5 people. Now, one of them, Casius, what's her first name again? I can't remember. Margarita. She was found dead. Of the 6 people, she's the only one whose body's been found. But the weird thing about her is she was found with a gun next to her, and yet it turns out there were no bullet wounds on her body. So she did not die from being shot, which everyone says, well, now it looks like that was it was foul play that was staged as suicide, and it does. And so this Chavez guy, he walks out, but all these people were working on highly, highly sensitive stuff. And General McCaslin, what's his first name? William, yeah. He started this, or his people noticed this when he went missing. It turns out that just a couple days before he went missing, he was trying to resign from all of these groups he belonged to, these scientific groups. And his wife thinks it was because he started to realize that his mind was going. That was her thing. So she is actually thinking now that maybe he walked off into the desert to kill himself. He didn't, as far as she knows, he didn't take a gun, but there's plenty of ways to do that. Or no, he did take a gun. What am I talking about? It's like, I do this. I have a tiny little outline here. That's what I work off of. I do this off the top of my head. I wanted to sound conversational. That's the reason. So, at any rate, this Chavez guy, he was working on teleportation. McCaslin, he was basically the kind of the grandfather here. He was all dialed into all sorts of UFO, UAP stuff, and all sorts of really high level science they were doing. He was trying to resign from at least 4 different groups that had ties to national defense secrets. And speaking of more quantum physics, I do this because I don't think you hear this stuff anywhere else. So quantum physicists have recorded photons that leave before they arrive. Yeah, you got that right. So photons, of course, are light, are particles of light. Light is made up of photons. So they've now measured theoretically they had proved this with mathematics, but now they've confirmed it with actual experiment, and that's actually the news here. They've confirmed this with physical experiment. They've actually seen photons arrive before they leave. Wrap your mind around that. So like, what is time anyway? What is it? Do we even know? No, we don't know. No, we don't know anything. And finally, the CIA has admitted now that they have been using 23andMe and Ancestry.com to see they're trying to find aliens, extraterrestrials who are living here on Earth, and they're using these two services because millions of people have sent their DNA in to see if they can find extraterrestrials living among us. And you may think, well, that's crazy, Jim. Well, now, and the thing is, I couldn't even remember. This is another thing that I read this last week, but I went back to try to track it down and I couldn't. I couldn't remember where I read this, but I remember that it was an anonymous congressman. This is a person who is on one of these committees, one of these discovery committees. And the person writing this article said they could not name this person because they were told this in conference. This woman said, apparently this is a congressperson of the United States Congress, told this person who was writing that she had run into, as far as she could tell, she actually met two extraterrestrials out in public. And she said she knew they were ETs when they took off their sunglasses. And this has been rumored for many, many years that there's a couple species of extraterrestrials that can basically pass as humans. One is called the Nordics, and they apparently look exactly like us. They're supposedly the only difference is they only have 24 teeth. Other than that, they look exactly human. So they walk around with impunity. But there's supposedly a species of ET called the tall whites that also look like humans, except for their eyes. And it's not even that their eyes are really weird. They have unusually large blue eyes. If you, so the thing is, if they take their sunglasses off, you know something's wrong. And that's exactly what this congressperson said. She said they removed their glasses and she could tell right away they weren't human. She said and they don't have like eyes like grays that are all black or anything like that. It's just that their eyes are very, very large. And so I can't remember where I read this. I tried to track it down before Showtime tonight, and I couldn't. But this woman said, and she said she was approached by these two people. I'll call them people because they knew she was involved in this. But she said until they took their sunglasses off, she couldn't tell any different. They looked like humans to her. So, I've heard the same thing, that the tall whites are almost human, but not quite, or they look almost human and not quite. So the CIA is trying to track down because they think that these people, and especially the Nordics, supposedly the Nordics have told people that they are mating with humans, and that's actually part of the reason they're here, is to make hybrid aliens, and they do it because they're basically humans. They look like humans. They do it the old fashioned way. They don't have to abduct people. They're getting down. What am I talking about? It's so crazy. All right. Okay. I'm done. So Thursday night, Paul Blake Smith on his new book, The UFO Bombshell Before Roswell, and our old friend Think on quantum computing and more AI. All this stuff ties together, folks. That's what I can tell you. That's what I'm going to tell you. So yeah, Thursday night, same bat time, same bat channel. Yeah, we're still doing this at 9 p.m. Eastern on Mondays and Thursdays only, not Tuesdays and Wednesdays now, at least for a while, until I get bored or something. Good night, Uncle Donnie, wherever you are, and good night to you, wherever you may be. Folks, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe, and what I gotta tell you, it's like, you do. So please, if you do, if you love me. I'll see you on Thursday night. Take care.